What happens when a successful entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar company and a veteran orthodontic specialist team up to share their stories of entrepreneurship and experiences in building a thriving business? You get the In Your Face podcast. Learn how to survive and thrive in today's ultra-competitive market. Now, let's start the show.
Greg Weiss here.
And Blair Feldman here, and we are the hosts of the In Your Face podcast, where we discuss stories of building a thriving business in today's competitive marketplace. Craig has scaled up a consumer business to over $1 billion valuation.
And Blair has a very impressive background as a practicing orthodontist for 20 years, and he's the team orthodontist for the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Phoenix Suns. And together now we help orthodontists grow their practice. So today's episode of the In Your Face podcast is brought to you by Mouthguard Club and Retainer Club. Both services help drive new patients, reactivations, and referrals to your orthodontic or dental office. Mouthguard Club provides personalized custom mouthguards that are perfectly fitted to your teeth, not to mention that you can fully customize the design and even put your team logo on it. It is one of the best fitting and performing mouthguards available. If you're interested, go to mouthguardclub.com/partner for more information. Retainer Club is the easiest way for orthodontists to provide patients with perfectly fitting retainers at a great price, while also sending you a steady stream of new patients into your office who are actively interested in getting treatment. Over 1,000 patients already love Retainer Club, and it's easy to use online services to regularly order and replace their retainers without taking up your staff time. Orthodontists love Retainer Club because their long-term fans continue to refer new patients to their office, and the smiles they created are being maintained for life. To learn more about becoming a partner office to bring in more patients and make more money, go to retainerclub.com/partner.
Today, our guest is Dr. Sam Daher. I am super excited to have Dr. Daher on the show. He was one of the early adopters of Invisalign, and he incorporated it into his orthodontic practice while successfully establishing the first Invisalign-only orthodontic practice in the world, and that was done in his hometown in Vancouver in 2009. Dr. Daher is a teacher at heart, and he became an Aligntech Institute faculty member and a keynote speaker for Align Technology, and he's lectured worldwide. He's also an adjunct professor at the University of the Pacific in San Francisco and a guest speaker at his alma mater, the University of Montreal. Dr. Daher became the top Invisalign submitter globally from 2009 to 2011, and he received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2014 Invisalign Ortho Summit. He's an active member of both the American and Canadian Association of Orthodontists and a fellow of the World Federation of Orthodontists. Dr. Daher is also the creator of Steraligner. It's the most effective solution to clean and sanitize aligners and all types of retainers and removable oral appliances. Steraligner is made in an FDA-approved facility here in the USA. It's currently helping to serve patients during this coronavirus pandemic with products like Steraligner, SteraBrush, and Sterismile. Dr. Daher, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of the Retainer Club, so thank you for having me.
Super excited to have you here. So if you don't mind just getting started a little bit, we're in a crazy time right now, and it's hard not to talk about what's going on. So if you could tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the crisis itself in terms of how it's affecting orthodontic offices and what advice you'd give to your colleagues during this period right now.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity. Being at home, we get to be reflective a little bit and think about not only the future, but the past as well. And now that we go through this crisis, it's funny, I'm going to quote my wife. She says, this social distancing brought me closer to people. I'm dying to get closer to people, to talk to people and hug people and communicate with people. So something good will come out of that. As sad as the news are today, there's always an improvement. I think at the end of the tunnel, there will be a light whereby we can communicate with our patients a little bit better. We can communicate with our doctors a little bit better. And I think technology is going to help us. Retainer Club is a perfect example for one thing. If those patients cannot come to the office for any reason and they can't continue coming regularly, having technology, having 3D technology will allow them to scan their teeth, have that file on record, and have retainers shipped to them whether it's once a year or whenever they lose it or so on and so forth. I believe the technology, the treatment planning services are also going to flourish. So all of these will provide a better service for our patients at the end of the day, so everybody will benefit. I know these are sad times, but I like to see the silver lining. And I think at the end of the day, technology is going to help make our specialty and our relationship a little bit better.
So Dr. Dar, I'm curious, you were an orthodontist and now, I would say you're more of an entrepreneur. You've made that transition. What got you sort of interested in Steraligner and this product, and what was your sort of origin story of making that transition? How did that all come about?
Well, let me tell you that the Steraligner has a story, as a matter of fact. So I have an Invisalign-only practice in downtown Vancouver, Canada. So patients that come to me know that they will be getting Invisalign. So one of the challenges, other than compliance and so on and so forth, one of the main challenges is my aligner not only does it not look good, it smells a little bit, or it tastes bad. So I remember one lady in particular, 73 years old, getting her teeth straightened because she's getting ready for her daughter's wedding. So I figured, okay, so she comes in, she's on a liner 5 or 6. Her treatment is coming along beautifully well. She comes in, she goes, Dr. Daher, my teeth are coming along well, but I can't kiss my husband. I go, I beg your pardon. She goes, well, there's a foul smell associated with the aligner, so I have to take them off, I have to brush my teeth. And I go to her, I go, Mrs. Baird, you're not supposed to be kissing your husband during the day. And she laughed. We tried everything. So we tried every single product out there. It will make most of these products will end up making the aligner looking good, but the taste and the smell never really disappeared. Some patients came back, using different kind of products, Javex and what have you. So I go, heavens no. So this is where the idea came from, where we need to clean these retainers a little bit better, or these aligners a bit better. So I ran into a friend of mine, a classmate of mine, someone that I've known for 30 years, who's my current business partner right now. And I explained to him that we need to get this new product. He goes, I have a PhD chemist that I'm going to introduce you to. So once I met with this gentleman, I explained to him what I need. Back and forth, you can imagine how many times. It took us about just a little over a year before we ended up with a final product, testing it, getting the approval from the FDA and Health Canada and so on and so forth. But now that product, we're getting so many compliments. We're getting so many thank yous, as a matter of fact, because not only does it clean, it actually kills bacteria, yeast, so on and so forth. So once the product was used and well known, word of mouth helped us grow it quite a bit, and it grew into what it is today. And because of COVID-19 right now, and people not wanting to touch their mouth and their faces, we're actually have been selling quite a bit of these Steraligner and all the sister products associated with it as well.
That's really interesting. I mean, you mentioned on something, I mean, obviously, and so for full disclosure, we use Steraligner both in terms of a product that we offer for Retainer Club, and then we also use it in our lab itself, and we really like the product. And you mentioned something that I think is kind of interesting and sort of underappreciated, and that's the idea of the taste. And I mean, you put a big emphasis on it, but we've delivered custom sports mouth guards that have done the 3 minutes in the Steraligner, and it's an amazing surprise expression that I've seen anytime I've given it to my kids after we've done this, and then also patients on some of the hockey teams that we support. And the expression is really positive and unexpected in terms of the taste. And it reminds me of a book that I read called The Power of Habit. And they were talking about, the importance of the sensory experiences in reinforcing habit. And obviously with Invisalign, it's really important that we maintain this positive habit of the 20 to 22 hours a day. And that taste component really is a significant, because being one of the 5 senses, it's a really significant reminder. So I think you really nailed something well. And the flavor is very pleasant. It's not overwhelming. It's not strong. It's not like a Listerine flavor. It's much more subtle. Is that how would you describe the flavor in itself and how you came about it?
Correct. So the flavor, actually, we worked quite a bit with the first flavor that we came up with. What we figured everybody likes mint, but it was quite minty. We're talking about the earlier products before it was released. It was quite minty, and then we added cherry, and then we tried different products, and then we came to realize that when it smells really good and when it tastes really good, it makes patients salivate a little bit. So we actually have to take a step back. So we settled on sort of a light minty taste, enough that you sort of feel it but not think about it, kind of thing. So we had to try different percentages, and we settled on that last nice minty taste that is not overwhelming, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think it's interesting to, we something we talked about, I think, right before the interview started, but the crisis that we're in right now is an interesting time to be in the hygiene business. You've got a product that does kill bacteria, and it's something that you can ship in the mail, which is another, good thing for this particular crisis. I mean, have you, I wouldn't mind if you talked a little bit about, not that you foresaw that we would have this crisis, but going from a business that you used to be in, which was providing, orthodontic service directly to patients in an office setting, to a business where you're selling a product that goes in the mail. I don't know if you thought about that, because, and I'm bringing it up only in the sense that, Blair has often talked about that one of the things with the do-it-yourself orthodontics that we're not a big fan of, but what they are doing is they're trying to meet a consumer need, right? Consumers want Amazon, they want products to arrive in the mail, they want convenience, and those companies are trying to give them what they're getting used to and what they prefer and want. That the patient outcomes are often tend to not be so good, and that's not a good thing. But they're, what we're trying to do, at least with Retainer Club, is in essence try to give the people the best of both worlds. Go to your orthodontist for orthodontic treatment and go see the expert in their office. But once you're done with treatment and you just need a retainer, that you can do in the mail the way you like getting your Amazon packages. And so I don't know if you've thought at all about Steraligner in that same way. Come to the orthodontist, get your treatment, but then your antibacterial, sterilizing a solution that I can send you in the mail.
Correct. And what we did, and actually my biggest teachers were my two kids, 21 and 22-year-olds, right? So Amazon, they order from Amazon and they expect delivery almost same day. So that generation is a little bit different. So I treated both of them with Invisalign. And when time came for retainers, I had ordered retainers for them. And then when my son lost it, he goes, "Dad, can you order one for me?" And then he didn't even want to go to the office, to his father's office, for heaven's sake. He didn't even want to go in because for him, it's a waste of time. And can we ship it to him? And that's where, I came to realize, at least, that this is something that we offer our patients right now. We actually give the first bottle as a gift when they start their treatment. And then we tell them you can go online and order it, or we can ship it to you. And patients appreciate that quite a bit. And in terms of the cleanliness, what really pushed me, I was giving a lecture at the University of Tokyo, and the Japanese culture is very clean freak, so to speak, and bacteria and all that. They really pay a lot of attention to that. And that was an eye opener for me, because our product, before we released it, while we were in the testing phase, we actually turned out to a third-party lab and we said, here are some used aligners. Here's our product. Please test it out for us, because we wanted an unbiased. I put my name on the bottle, and my name means a lot to me. So I didn't want to just put anything out there. I wanted it to be a good quality product, and we asked them to test it, and they came up with exactly what we had. 99.9% of the bacteria, the harmful bacteria in the mouth, are being cleaned within 3 to 3.5 minutes. So that's why we say you need to place it in there for 3 minutes. So all of that collectively makes you think how the consumers, how they think of it and how they appreciate it, and it being delivered to their house is a plus and something they do appreciate.
How do you recommend, orthodontists? Well, I guess it's a little bit different now with the many offices being closed, but I guess you could answer this question in two different ways: currently, now, and then in the future when orthodontists return to a more regular schedule. But how do you recommend that orthodontists present this and use this tool in their office? Do you recommend selling it through their office? Do you recommend creating some sort of online portal within their offices so that patients can buy it online? What do you recommend for orthodontists?
Okay, so it's funny, you and I know that orthodontists, we're not all the same, and we have different approach to things. So when we first started, we wanted to have the orthodontists acquire it and sell it to their patients. And that worked out well with about 50% of the orthodontists. The other half said, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a healthcare provider, I don't want to sell anything. So at that point, what we did is we said, purchase it, because they use it in the office. So that they clean the aligners as they're doing the treatment during the dental visit, and this way your patients get to test it and you get to test it. And then if they like it, you just take them to Steraligner.com and they can order it directly from there. So I would say 50% of our doctors order it, store it, and sell it directly, and the other 50% just ask the patients to go to Steraligner.com and purchase it from there directly, and we'll ship it to the consumer directly with no shipping cost.
And what, I was curious, sort of as a business owner, what are you doing sort of differently today than you were in the beginning? Like, what have you learned over the years that, you now realize, gosh, I wish I wasn't doing that, or I hope to streamline my business in different ways. What is it that you're doing differently now that is a good takeaway?
So, and that's a very good question, because when we started this, we were focusing on aligners only. And as we were going through filling out the form for the FDA and Health Canada, some of the questions were, does it work on other appliances? Have you tried it on other retainers that have acrylic and metal? So that forced us to test it on everything else out there. And we found out that it works just as well. It doesn't cause any damage to the solder joint, to the metal, to the acrylic. And my kids have actually black belt in martial arts. So they take their mouth guard and they throw the sports guard and they throw it in the bag along with their shoes and so on. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So we started using Steraligner to clean that. So we came to realize that it's a lot more than just aligners, it's retainers, it's other mouth guards and what have you. And the other thing that we noticed when we first started, we didn't have a travel size. So our patients and our consumers would come up and say, this 16-ounce bottle is great. I can't get it on a plane with me. So what we did is we have now a 3.2 travel size. And that actually led from there on. We have Sterile Smile, which is a foam. It's a foaming product that was made by Steraligner as well, whereby if you're on the go and you're, if you're, whether you're traveling or at home and you're outside the house, you apply the foam on and for 30 seconds or so, and then you can wear it. You don't even have to rinse it. So if you have no access to water, you can put it in your mouth and that will actually give it that cleanliness. So we grew that way. Then we grew into Sterile Brush. Again, our patients and our consumers came back and says, hey, what do you do with a brush? I like my brush, but when I go in a hotel room and I leave it standing there, I don't know what the cleaning crew does. So now we have Sterile Brush, whereby you spray on the brush, let it sit for 5 seconds, and you can use it, and that sterilizes it as well. So it grew into a big product, but cleanliness is really the common thread. We started it as it being, you clean the retainer and the aligner, it looks like it just came out of the bag, which is true, but now cleanliness is the point that where it really caught on. And that was an eye-opener for us, and it was good news because cleanliness is good.
What about that question in terms of your orthodontic career? You've been doing this for a while. Craig, same question in terms of what have you learned and what are you doing differently in your orthodontic career?
So right now, I used to own several offices. I sold 6 of them. I retain 1 office today. I enjoy my interactions with the patients quite a bit. The clinical aspect of orthodontics still excites me. But what I came to realize is the business aspect of it, facilitating, being a teacher at heart, what a teacher is a facilitator at the end of the day, right? And I came to realize that this is the part that I enjoy maybe slightly more than just clinical dentistry. I still keep my fingers wet. I still practice, of course. But now my clinical practice days are limited to a couple of days a week. And the rest of the time, what we call the business aspect is really the interaction aspect of dealing with my colleagues, with my associate, with the patients, with the consumers. So I enjoy that aspect a little bit more just because it's a new challenge and because it sort of keeps your mind going all the time. You're thinking, you're quick on your feet, and I enjoy that aspect. So, but I get the best of both worlds by still practicing a couple of days a week.
And talking about that education, can you talk a little bit about the Daher Institute for Education?
Sure. So we have, that started off as the Daher Aligner Institute. So what the Daher Aligner Institute is a platform whereby I can communicate with my colleagues. So I've traveled the world. I've been to about 140 cities worldwide on 5 continents giving lectures. So I made a lot of friends along the way on all 5 continents. And a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my peers that have attended my lectures, what they say is, we like your way of thinking. We like the way that the step-by-step, the reasoning behind your treatment plan. So what that platform allows people to do is to communicate with me, sort of allow me to help them treatment plan their cases when they're being treated with aligners, Most of these patients are Invisalign patients, but other aligners as well, but mostly Invisalign. And it allows me to communicate with them on a HIPAA-approved server, which is amazing. So we do the treatment plan, but we also have question and answer period, and we have an open forum for communication. So the teacher and me can do that on evenings and weekends and anytime I'm free as well. So I enjoy that aspect quite a bit as well.
All right, I've got to ask a off-topic parent question. You know, you mentioned that your kids are doing martial arts and that they've got a black belt. You know, we do mouth guards, which is for Mouth Guard Club for people who do contact sports. Which Blair mentioned that we do the Steraligner for that as well. But I have to ask, I've just got my 10-year-old and 13-year-old into jiu-jitsu. And I need to ask, because you're on the other side of this now with the black belt, like, did you have any fear as a parent? Like, wait a second, like, this could go south on me. Like, if they don't like what I'm saying, like, they've got the power now. And I've been worried about this as a parent, that maybe I haven't thought this through all the way. So how has this worked out for you?
Well, it's funny you say that, because it is a fear that creeps in as you're testing it for the first time, and you wonder, these guys they have more followers than I do, personally and professionally. So one bad word will get me in hot water. So when we tested it, I actually, before we did anything, I said, I need your honest opinion, because I explained to them when we started testing it. It was a couple of years ago, so they were still adults at the time, of course. And I said, I need your honest opinion. And I was nervous and I held my breath. So after a couple of days, they both came back and said, this is amazing. It's really good, because I don't know what I would have done if they said no. And I'm being honest with you. I'm being a little bit vulnerable here, but it's the truth. Luckily, they liked it. So before I started recommending it to anyone else, I got their honest opinion first. And these kids, trust me, they would give me their honest opinion. They already think they're smarter than mom and dad. So imagine.
And I'm curious, just for our listeners, when you compare kind of Steraligner to, let's just say, I'm sure some of your patients say, well, shouldn't I just soak it in Listerine or ACT or whatever? What would you tell your patients about? Obviously Blair mentioned, we really think the taste and the smell is wonderful, and we've gotten really positive feedback from your product. But what else would you say is a difference between your product and the off-the-shelf products?
So you can imagine, we got all these questions from our patients. Some of them put their aligners in Javex. They put them in, some of them at salt and water. I don't know what that does, for heaven's sake. Some of them boil it in hot water. I had a nurse that came back and the aligner looked like a ball of wax. So because she boiled it in hot water. So we've tried everything. What you want to keep in mind is some of these, even denture cleaners, are a little too abrasive. So what they end up doing is they make the retainer or the aligner a little bit more porous. And what that does is, even though it comes out clean, it will actually make it stain a little bit faster the next time around, because there are more pores in it. It may even change the physical property a little bit. As for ACT and other mouth rinse products, they're not antibacterial enough. The strength is not there. It will make it smell fresh. It doesn't make it look transparent and 100% clean, and it doesn't kill the bacteria either, but it works on one out of the three aspects only. So with Steraligner, it's strong enough to kill them, so it's antibacterial, but it also is a cleansing. And that's why it's a little bit different. When we first started with this, let me digress a little bit, I was hoping that we'd get crystals, just because of travel and what have you, and it's easy to store. But then my chemist told me that there's certain products that are really antibacterial and work well, don't always work very well in a crystal format. So it needs to be in a liquid format. And that's why we settled on a liquid format as well.
Do you have any data or information? I mean, you mentioned that antibacterial. Is Steraligner antiviral? Is that such a thing even? I mean, any info on that?
So we tested it against bacteria. We tested it against spores, and we tested it against fungus. Bacteria, you stumped me now, but we will go back and test it. But chances are, if it does kill 99% of the bacteria, then it will work on viruses. But we'll go and do a separate test on that right now, because it's something that we've been wanting to do. We're just waiting for life to go back to normal, whatever
Sure.
normal is at this point, right?
Sure.
Certainly.
Sure. So Dr. Dyer, tell us what does the future hold for Steraligner? I mean, we talked about future testing, but what else is exciting? What are you looking forward to in the future for Steraligner?
Well, we have a couple of products in the pipeline that are related to Steraligner. So like I said, we have the travel size, we have SteraBrush, we have the Sterile Smile, which is a foam that you can take with you when you travel. There's a couple of products that I don't want to talk about just yet because we're just finalizing them, that are related to the family, and I think they will make a big impact as well. So at this point, what we're looking at is having an impact and making a difference, whether it's beyond financial reward, whether this is an ego thing, whether it's a paradigm shift, whether we can make a difference whereby our names is remembered for a long time to come. We're working on a couple of products right now, which I'm hoping next time you ask me to be on your show again, I'll have more answers for you, but I promise you we're very close to 2 new products, sister products.
Very exciting.
Fantastic. Very exciting. So Dr. Dyer, we like to close our interviews with what we call the lightning round. Just a couple of very sort of brief questions. You don't have to, spend too much time answering, but we kind of like to get everybody's answers to compare them. But what would you consider to be your business superpower?
Honesty. It's and without hesitation. I don't want to elaborate too much on that because I've been on the receiving end of so many broken promises in our world, in the world of corporate dentistry or corporate in general. I figure honesty, and you know what? That served me well over the years.
I love it. I think that, by the way, I think that is an awesome superpower. And I have to say, I talk to my kids about it all the time. When I guest lecture at the business school here at Arizona State University, I tell the students, the MBA students, I say, if you want to be in the top 1% of performers, just do what you say you're going to do. Correct. It sounds simple. You probably think you're already doing it, but I promise you that's not how the world works. And so
God bless you. I
could not
100%.
agree with you more. All right, next, what are you most looking forward to? And it could be professionally or personally. What are you most looking forward to?
Actually, everybody talks about retirement being completely disconnected from the world of orthodontics. My retirement, if I would call it semi-retirement, will be to actually go back to the university and lecture, if not full-time, at least almost full-time. I enjoy sharing knowledge. I enjoy the intellectual stimulation. And the funny thing is our profession, regardless of the product or the company that we work with as we practice, I find if us as orthodontists, unless we deliver that knowledge to the next generation, it's going to die with us. And that would be a shame. Imagine 20, 30 years of experience, and then you take it to the grave and let the new generation go back to the bottom of the ladder. So to me, this is my dream, is to quote unquote retire, but go back and teach at the university level at a graduate orthodontic program 3 days a week. That is my dream.
Those would be lucky residents. I'm curious, if you were to pick up a book right now, would you read it or would you listen on something like Audible?
Oh, I would read it. I'm still one of those. I enjoy the smell of paper. I enjoy flipping the page. I would read a book. I still do read books.
And what are you reading? Anything recently that you're excited about?
Right now, I'm reading what I tell my wife called Bubble Gum for the Brain. So I like John Grisham books. So that's what I've been reading. I just finished his last book and some of Dan Brown's book. I read them all. But when I read outside of orthodontics, I like to read fantasy, and I like to dream and get outside of the world of dentistry and business.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's really been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and it's really been wonderful talking. I think it's a unique opportunity to connect, and as Blair and I have mentioned, we're big fans of you and your product, and we recommend it certainly to all of our customers.
So if our listeners want to get a hold of you, Dr. Dar, what's the best way to find you, whether it's on the internet or email?
So Steraligner.com, you can go to our product. You can send a message through there. I can also give you my personal email address. It's dr.samdaher@yahoo.ca. .ca. A lot of people try the .com. Just remember, I'm Canadian, so.
That's why you're so nice.
Right. No, stop it.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your expertise, and we look forward to talking to you more in the future.
I appreciate the opportunity, gentlemen. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the In Your Face podcast with your hosts, Craig Weiss and Blair Feldman. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.